Good morning, everyone. Hey, I'm recording this in the dark today so you guys can see all the Christmas magic happening behind me. I recently came across this little book written by this Franciscan friar by the name of Richard Rohr. Its title is Falling Up. He says that for most people, there are two halves of life. And it really has nothing to do with age. You might be well into your sixes before you enter into the second half. And I sure hope I'm not going to live to be 130. But in the first half of life is laying a moral foundation. And it's in this half where there's little gray area. There's a strong sense of right and wrong, and everything is black and white. We all start off as first half people, and it really has nothing to do with age. You could live your whole life as first half people. But then for many of us, there's this shift. And we go from seeing everything as black and white to having a whole lot more gray. Maybe it's just life that happens. But in the second half of life, we learn to live in this tension. Just finding yourself saying, oh man, I don't know. Or I'm not sure. And it becomes a time of extending grace to others who maybe don't know and aren't sure. Our thinking goes from, I want to be right, to being right isn't as important as being kind. One of my favorite sayings is it's more important to be loving than right, has grown out of my second half life. I know a guy, he was so first half view, in his view of the world, it was almost comical. He would argue with the stop sign. He had to be right about everything. He was a strong Christian, and as you might have guessed, he had a strong sense of how things were supposed to be. Marriage, family, faith. Boy, and then life happened. And it kind of kicked the snot out of him. Divorce, life as a single dad, then a sister married another woman, and all that was once black and white suddenly became crashing down gray. He entered the second half life. I love the story where the religious leaders bring the woman caught in adultery and throw her at Jesus' feet. She's humiliated, disgraced, and deserving to die. The religious leaders were first half people. Man, that woman was guilty, scumbag sinner, and should die. Jesus didn't argue that point at all, but I love what Jesus did. He didn't excuse her behavior. He just knelt beside her. His posture next to her was more important than his position on the law. He treated her with dignity. He elevated her by stooping down to her. His posture towards her as a dearly loved child of God trumped her position as a sinner. At the end of the day, our beliefs and opinions matter, but our posture matters more. To know what position to hold, but how to hold them in love. That's what makes us more like Jesus and less like the religious leaders. Paul talks about this in his letter to the Corinthians, where he says, if I speak in the tongues of men and angels, if I give all I have to the poor and have prophetic powers to understand all God's mysteries, I have faith to move mountains and even surrender my body to the flames to be burned, but don't have love, and I have nothing. When we can learn to love and practice love, we'll become better people because of it. And we could drop the stones and become second half people. In saying this, I don't want to give the impression that everything is gray, because there are some absolutes, but far fewer than most people would like to admit. Jesus was God in a bod, come to reconcile sinful humanity back to himself. That's the hill I'm going to die on. And then there's a whole lot of personal preferences and opinions. And in these, it's okay to be gray, because it's more important to be loving than right. And I love you guys. Have a great day.